Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 640, Are Superheroes White Supremacists? By some guy named Chris Gavaler. It's a TEDx talk, so I don't know where this is going to go. I haven't watched a second of this, but I do know this guy is a professor, so he's been studying the topic, so maybe, just maybe, and we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, there is some credence to what he's going to be talking about. He has some evidence. Historical account, you name it, we'll find out. But obviously, most people are going to look at this and laugh at this title. So I don't know what to expect.
Come on, that's just like looking at the TEDx logo is just like enough to laugh at it.
Well,
You don't even have to read the title itself. Just looking at the TEDx.
not every TEDx talk is made the same, for sure.
I mean what Sam Hyde one is the only one that's you need to watch. The rest is just skippable.
That's the parody of the TEDx talks, but
It's the prime.
it's the basis that all the other TEDx talks are based around. No. I don't know what to expect from this guy. He's apparently a professor of English, and he could have some. Again, he could have some references. There are lots of weird stories in comic books throughout the years. I wouldn't be surprised if some of this was inspired by drug-induced stupors or some crazy stories, whatever the writers are like. Look at Grant Morrison. That guy's pretty wild as a writer, and he's created some pretty crazy comic books. So I wouldn't be surprised. And in case you don't remember, he did a wonderful, was it 2009? He came out with the Black Superman President. I wonder why. So
Seriously?
you don't remember?
No.
That was
a thing.
Calvin Ellis. And in case you haven't figured that out, inspired by Barack Obama. So there's plenty of crazy comic books out there which had racial influence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But hopefully this gentleman is going to provide some evidence of that. So I have an open mind. Hopefully you do too. But it just came out 2 years ago, this video. Only has 512 views. No one's really watched this. But we don't care. We'll watch it anyway. So, alrighty. Hopefully, we're all good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. All good.
Okay, guys. There are no subtitles, unfortunately, but that's okay.
Well, hopefully he can speak English. So
That'll. If he's a professor of English, I hope so. Okay.
In this day and age, that means nothing.
No. All right.
cross fingers.
Here we go. I've hit the play button. There we go. Professor at Washington.
Hi, my name is Chris Gavaler, and I'm here to talk to you about superheroes, or more generally, how in the United States we tend to put our heroes on pedestals, which means sometimes former heroes get knocked down. A little context, about a half mile from here, a statue of Stonewall Jackson, a former hero of the South, was just removed last month. If you go another hour east, you'll hit Charlottesville, where the right rally took place over the removal of a statue of Robert E. Lee. If you go another hour east, you'll hit Richmond, the former capital of the Confederacy, where statues of Confederate heroes have been coming down one after another all year.
Okay, so this is obviously a very loaded history of the South that he's been in. I do not have knowledge of this. What this has to do with comics, I don't know, but I'm glad that he presented this because this was happening 5 years ago at least, and we've been seeing a lot of statues coming down even in Canada. So it's a thing. It's been happening. It's obviously a sensitive issue to many people for whatever reasons, but if there's a connection, I'd love to see it. So good context, but not on the topic of comic books, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of like showing his true colors with this. It's like this is the main thing that he wants to have as an introduction to the video. That white supremacy and Confederacy statues. I don't think that that's like why the Civil War in the first place started, but let's carry on, I guess.
It's a loaded flag message, so
Yeah, and it's this is to do with erasing history, with erasing the history that a certain side of politics doesn't like. And so they don't want anyone to remember it. They don't want to have anyone remembered that doesn't fit their mold. And the same thing has been going on in Germany for a long time, where the left tries to... Where they've tried to remove statues of this or that person from 400 or 500 years ago, and that people barely know. Like, you also have these horse rider statues, and then they bring up reasons like, oh, but that baron, he was for hitting the children in school to behave, and that's a thing that happened in my town. That was literally their one argument for removing a statue of a historical figure.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the left keeps, and you see also on this statue, the graffiti, a hammer and sickle for one, they keep erecting new statues of Karl Marx in Germany.
Really?
But they bring down these historical figures. That's the only way it happens.
See, I don't mind if people want certain statues up in their parks. Like, that's totally their freedom to do so. What I'd rather they not do is destroy them. I'd rather they put them in a museum or an art gallery or somewhere where it's not destroyed. Like, if you want to clean up your park and change it around and resurface it and do whatever the heck you want with your public space, that's your right as a citizen for whatever reason. I don't care if you want to worship the ice cream god in the sky and you want a giant whatever.
These removals here, they never happen because of a referendum.
Really?
They happen because a violent mob is forming that is oftentimes bussed in from outside the town. So most of these are, in regards to locals, foreigners.
It's a little different in Canada when we have religious icons on church property getting torn down, which is a little disconcerting because no one has any right to tell a private property owner to take down idols or sculptures or whatever, and to say, oh well, it was just a bunch of vandals with a giant hydraulic wench or whatever they call those things. So there are some problems in certain respects, but if it's a public parks issue, that's fair. I don't really care either way.
And I can tell you that these statues are not being put in museums; they're being melted down.
Really? Oh, that's a shame.
Destroyed.
See, I think giant bronze statues are beautiful, regardless of whether you like the history or not. And to have the plaques removed as well is also kind of sad. And it's not just a war memorial; it's just any memorial, anything that's to represent 400 years ago or 200 years ago, whatever the case was. So it's sad.
Especially with obviously the Civil War of America.
Hey.
Hi, Smud, yeah. Long time no see.
How's it go? Oh, jeez.
All right.
Didn't even know you were there. I was leaning back, like, who's that? What the hell? How many people are on this call?
Sudden Hawk, critical damage.
I summoned him.
Yeah, no, I've got
so we can have another racist here.
Yeah, well, I've got some spare time, so, and obviously I saw white supremacy and thought, yep, that's me. But the thing about obviously them tearing down the statues of the Civil War, considering how little people know about the American Civil War, it's disheartening seeing them just tear down everything, because there's certain people who want to paint it as a clear good versus evil fight when it wasn't. I mean, 90% of the Confederacy leaders and generals were literally Union soldiers the day before the war started. Do you know what I mean? It was a really hard and difficult thing for people to do, to side with the Confederacy against the Union.
Yeah.
And to destroy it, you lose that history, don't you? And then you lose the knowledge.
Yeah, and the only reason those generals and soldiers joined with the Confederacy is because they were protecting their states. They aligned with their states more than the Union.
Yeah. It's like Robert Lee, the leader of the Confederacy army, was literally asked by Lincoln to be the leader of the Union army, and he turned it down because he couldn't march against his own people. So, yeah.
Alrighty, here is Adept the Fourth Wall. Okay, interesting name you got there, sir. Yes,
He's
they
not crawling around in mine.
yes, they are white supremacists. I fondly remember collecting Iron Clan comics, as well as the adventures of Wonder Why There's Minorities Woman, the Fash.
What are those names?
These are great. The Alienable Hulk and the White Hood. They're fantastic comics, and everyone should read them. Okay.
Oh dear.
It reminds me of that. Did anyone used to watch that Cyanide and Happiness thing on YouTube? And there's a guy called the White Knight, and it's literally a guy in a Klansman hood with like Nazi symbols and stuff. And this police chief's like going, "Listen, there's a certain type of people you're arresting." He goes, "What, criminals?" He went, No. Is it like a certain type of people?" He goes, "I'm not getting you. Like there are certain, ethnic group." He goes, "No, don't understand. It's like you're arresting all the black guys, and you're not leaving any of them for the rest of us." He's like really upset. This guy in the Klansman goes, "Wow, that's racist," and like flies off. I've got to try and find that.
To bring this part here to a close. So this is the left doing this. This is the socialists doing this, and they always seek the complete erasure of the culture and history of the people they seek to take over. And in the end, it doesn't matter if these were absolutely evil people of history or absolute saints. The left wouldn't care. They would look for the smallest infraction to justify removing the statues, so that they will be erased from public knowledge, so that no child can ever ask who is that, because they never even see a picture of that historical figure. And so that they can establish their own narrative about history easier. And that's all this is about. That's all this is really about. It's not about, oh, there's a bad person in history, we shouldn't have a statue up of that person. In reality, the deeper reason is they want you to not know anything about history.
All right, let's continue.
And right now I'm sitting in my favorite classroom at Washington Lee University, where I teach. And right now my board of trustees is in the process of deciding whether Robert E. Lee, whether his name should be removed from the name of our school. Now, after I'm done talking, what you're going to have to decide is whether superheroes should remain on their pedestal or if they should come down too. But I want to start by pointing out that I'm not anti-superheroes. I've always loved superheroes. I grew up on superheroes.
Then that begs the question, why is he even put... Oh God, what a painful face. And why is he then putting up this proposal to bother with?
I think he's just showcasing what's happening right now, because it's been a pretty weird past 2-3 years, and this is one of the smaller things that happened that has been going on for at least the 5 years that I remember. So he just wants to get some context of where he is. And
so far he's been neutral.
Yeah.
If he's going into a hostile position after all, my bet he's gonna try to play guilt by association, like, oh, this the creator of that hero said a bad thing, and therefore you must not consume the hero or something.
It depends, because a lot of English professors I've met have been left leaning, but I don't think they've ever advocated for the removal of historical facts or books or anything of the nature. So I'm wondering where he's going with this.
They aren't really the people who initiate action, but they will definitely agree with that kind of action.
I see what you mean.
At least from my experience. But so far where he has been heading, this is the typical leftist comic book video, that you start off saying something extremely ridiculous, that white supremacy. So the next thing that I have to think about is Confederacy statues being removed. Okay. But anyway, I'm a really big fan of this thing. Oh, okay. So this is how he wants to validate himself, that my points matter because I am experienced in this topic.
You know what's funny about that though? Mark, bringing that up. It's like, superheroes are these white supremacists, and I'm a big fan of that. It's like, you're a big fan of superheroes.
It's kind of like you're digging your own grave.
It's okay.
It's how he sows the seeds of this entire train of thought, and tries to come off as relatable and approachable. And the wackiest thing in this direction I have seen in a talk held at a hacker conference in 2016 by someone related to the Saudi royal family, who talked about ego shooters, first-person shooters, that were so violent and that they depicted Arabs as the bad guys all the time, and it was bad, and the whole shtick. You know how it goes, but at the same time he admitted at the end, but it's really fun playing them. I love playing them anyway. But it's really bad that it's always that his people are always the bad guys.
Interesting.
Like the terrorists and everything. And usually all of these talks always have a Q&A session at the end. That one didn't. The organizers, which were all Antifa, ushered everyone out really quickly, saying, well, we don't have time for questions. We don't have time. You need to go. We need to host the next talk. Which was complete bonkers and out of order, because that's not how these things are ever organized. But there, suddenly, no questions allowed. Because we're at a hacker conference in Germany, where we've had this topic of, violent video games cause violence, cause mass shootings. We've had that for decades here as well. And now you're holding that position at a hacker conference in Germany? That is the audience that would normally rip that claim to shreds, and there's suddenly no questions allowed. That was bizarre.
All right, here's a controversial opinion from the donations from Mr. JS. Thank you, sir. The Boys gets a whole lot more interesting once you realize Homelander is the good guy.
Yeah, it's so good that someone else has come up with that.
Maybe he's not the good guy. He's probably the lesser of multiple evils that he deals with, but he's certainly a broken man.
He's a victim of circumstance. We need to forgive him.
Oh my God.
Yes, after killing like 3 children and 3 teachers.
Oh boy.
All I know is in The Boys, Soldier Boy gets treated dirty. He was the best character.
Oh really?
Yeah.
He was an interesting character for sure.
Soldier Boy, what's up?
Yeah, there was like everything that happens. It was just literally to make an extra season. There was no reason for Butcher to join up with Homelander.
Yeah.
It's like Soldier Boy was going to kill him. It's like, oh no, we need season 4. It's like, okay, cool, great. We're going to keep this going, are we?
Well, if it's popular and it works, and they know how to write, I say go for it. But if it has a proper ending, then yeah, let it go. Anyway, let's keep going.
I had to learn as a kid, and I more or less literally learned to read from comics. I loved Marvel, X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man. When I had kids, I had a big old box of comics from my childhood. I tried to get my son to read pretty much every single one of them. My daughter used to have little tea parties with her superhero action figures. Superheroes are my children's childhood. They were my childhood. I passed that on to them.
Look, I'm relatable. I like superheroes. Please listen to me as I destroy them.
These are my children's also opinion. We all like them. We're all happy people. We're a big happy family. Okay.
My children are also white supremacists, like me, their grandfather. And I too hope that their children are white supremacists.
Okay.
Around the same time as my kids were growing up, a group of honor students here at WNL were looking for a professor who could teach a course on superheroes. And they eventually found their way to me. I immediately said yes, because what could be more fun a course on superheroes. So I started researching to prepare for the class, thinking I just had to fill in some historical background, get the context of when the early superhero character types started. And that led to an article, which led to another academic article, which led to a book. And now I'm working on my 5th book on comics. I am, and I can say this accurately, a superhero scholar and a comics theorist. My kids think that's hilarious.
No one thinks that's hilarious. Also, that's really just making up words.
He's got this perpetual expression on his brow is just constantly furrowed. I'm like, dude,
Thank you.
What
I wanted to mention that.
Pain. Existence is pain.
Is he suffering in his chair, really uncomfortable chair?
Yeah. Yeah, he's suffering. He's like, look at his eyes. He looks like he's about to cry. And I think he's very unsure of what he's saying. I don't think he's believing what he's saying.
Well, like how I could describe this look is Mein Kampf.
He is struggling. That I believe.
Maybe he didn't get enough sleep, or the light's too bright in his eyes. There's many things that could be going on here, but
it's quite simple, guys. When he sat down, one of his testicles went under his leg, but he can't move because of ruined the video.
Oh no! Oh no!
So it's just an uncomfortable, that, oof, I can't just go through it, fight through the pain.
You could just restart the video. Digital age and everything.
No,
it's
not
live.
No, only white supremacists restart videos.
And fix their underwear so that they can untwist their balls.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Only white supremacists care about their balls.
All right, let's keep going.
But other people don't think it's very funny at all. Bill Maher, a couple years ago when Stan Lee died, he had this to say. 20 years or so ago, something happened. Adults pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature.
They are.
And some dumb people got to be professors by writing about them. I'm one of those dumb people. And Maher goes on. He says, I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic.
Oh my God, we're quicker into Donald Trump with the Maggie May video. Good Lord.
Yeah, I hope you all have your bingo cards ready.
Yeah. Well, okay, there are some comic books that are trash the same way there are some novels that are trash. It doesn't matter what the format is, what the medium is. There are some brilliant comics, as we all know. As much as we dislike Alan Moore at times, he does write some really good comics. I don't know anymore if he does, but he did in the past. So there's plenty of great novels out there with questionable artwork or sometimes excellent artwork to complement themselves. So it does not matter if you're talking about a bunch of guys in spandex flying around or serious adult issues. Yeah. They're all great in some regard.
It's not all superhero comics. There's a lot of other stories out there in America and outside America.
Yeah,
we don't need to go manga for that. You can go to Europe, to Franco-Belgian comics. They're very big and very high quality and very expensive. But even in Germany, we have the little things, the big things, but it's nothing that from the big screen, or very, very rarely. They're very, very rarely screen adaptations.
Snowpiercer.
The thing is, though, trying to save a
yes, that would be one.
A proper, form of media or entertainment or whatever like that. It's kind of, being stuck up. It's like, so every play that Shakespeare wrote was great. But no, there's some real shit ones. Like, there's no operas. There's some really bad operas. There's some really bad, ballerina dancing. You know what I mean? It's like, there's good stuff and bad stuff of everything. But why is that classed as proper entertainment? And, why is that respectable, but comic books aren't respectable?
Oh yeah, it's the same issue with, like you said, operas and operettas. They all have to be surrounding the war, or every time some great author writes a story, it has to be some anecdote about the war, or knew someone about World War I or II. Like Mouse is a great comic, but it didn't have to be about, like, there's Bone is a great comic. It has nothing to do with war. There's all kinds of great comics out there that are just contemporary. They don't have superheroes. And you could tell a story with pictures. There's nothing wrong with the illustrative novel. So it really depends on what you like, whether you could find these things, because this is sort of a dying artwork or art form these days.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like Mouse is just a big one in my head. You have the Sandman, you've got Preacher, you've got all the Alan Moore stuff. So, Batman, some of the Batman ones. Obviously, those are superhero stories, but they're out there. So it's not impossible. Like Robert Crumb is a good one. So they are adult stories. They're for kids as well, and they don't involve people with superpowers all the time. So just check them out if you want.
Yeah. Like the especially the art of the science fiction comics made in the 80s and I'd say early 90s throughout. That's something that's in the European comics. I know that level of art and style is very similar to the science fiction art in manga that you saw during the time and now. That's extremely high quality, extremely detailed, and just was it last week when I was in the local comic shop and I picked up some stuff. The regulars, they once in a while you get some something gifted from like the antiquarian pile, and I got a comic from '89 that was called the Fourth Governance, if you translate it in English, or the Fourth Force. And that's absolutely beautiful. I'll send you some pics later, Smud. And I was taken aback by like this was just a regular comic for like do I have it? Wait, where did I put it? What was the original price on that?
Yeah.
What is that? That was 17 marks. That would be 8 euros around, and it's 64 pages of high quality line art and all full colored and really well done with different coloring techniques from watercolor to sprinkles for explosions like brush. I don't know what you call it, like brush spray. And it's absolutely. I didn't know this stuff was made back in the day. Love it. And for free.
Yeah, I was just mentioning Western comics. We got, of course, the East. You have Europe with, what was it, Adventures of Tintin, I think. Pretty huge. It's been going on for how long? So
yeah,
they are out there, and they're awesome. So they're classics. Anyway, yeah, I agree with him. He's that dig from Bill Maher was weird. So
now, I really don't want to talk about Donald Trump, but I disagree with Bill Maher. I think he's got it exactly backwards. I think someone like Donald Trump could only get elected.
I don't want to talk about Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump. Oh my God, this dude.
He's great. Anyway.
I think comic books are important. I'll explain why. But let me first acknowledge an obvious point. Macho men in tights, they look ridiculous. Yes, comics are silly, superheroes are silly, but they do provide us a unique window into our culture. And it's through that window.
Is he mocking my boy Heracles in his lion suit?
Maybe they didn't have spandex back then.
Yeah, they had that. They wore other ridiculous stuff, like the mane of a lion, because you killed it, so it's yours now.
Yeah, but that wasn't stretchy like plastic. So
yeah, he had just loincloth.
Yeah, loincloth.
Loincloth and some leather straps.
Some cotton and fiber. There you go.
Yeah, and then you make a movie like Zardos.
Sorry. Every time you mention it, my brain goes, the gun is good. Okay.
No, it's the best Sean Connery movie ever made.
Oh, God. Anyway.
The Avengers.
Window can learn some things about ourselves as a nation. Now, superheroes initially became very, very popular in comic form during World War II. And that's a moment when our country is at its most united, fighting against fascist forces for democracy. And a superhero answer that context, think about Captain America, think about Wonder Woman, and literally their costumes are the American flag. And so that idea of superheroes as America continued after World War II into the Cold War and well beyond, the idea that superheroes are our champions of good. And that's part of the problem, because what we consider good keeps changing. So the superhero is changing.
No, that's why we don't want the superheroes to change. That's why we want Superman to stay saying truth, justice, and the American way, and not change it to some socialist gobbledygook.
Is he getting
our definition of what we consider good is changing? That's an instant red flag.
Is he getting aesthetics confused with ethics?
He's a moral relativist.
Yeah, but you don't suddenly say, "Hey, tomorrow let's not kill people." Then maybe a week later, let's do that.
I'm sorry, genocide will never be good.
Killing
is always a viable option.
Against his killing code or no killing code.
Yeah, like Batman won't change. If they change Batman, no one will read it anymore.
Yeah, it's not Batman anymore. It's someone else. Then it's Pretend Man.
That's why when you have that alternate world where his dad becomes Batman and he kills people, it's like, holy shit, this world is messed up.
Yeah. We just want superheroes to stick to their virtues.
Well, yeah, that's how heroes work. even gray heroes or anti-heroes have some concept of virtue or some moral compass. They're not nihilists.
Just to be sure, because every superhero apparently exists thanks to certain ages in American comics, but Pretend Man does not seem to be a superhero or villain. Well, there are just several people with that name as a profile.
With certain stories, let's say, what's that? Dexter. There's that one, a serial killer that kills serial killers or whatever. It's like, okay, he's a bad person, but you're like, okay, well, he is doing the thing that the other guys are doing, but only in certain regards, which is like, okay, that's kind of like a vigilantism for doing the thing that no one else is doing or would do. And you could say that's a form of compulsion. He's got a problem. He's like, yeah, of course, he's killing people, obviously. But he's doing the thing that no one else is doing. He's like a vigilante. So we can see the gray of like, well, is he serving a higher purpose? Not really. This is purely a selfish desire of his. But the result to the rest of society is technically a boon. So that's a cool little quandary on behalf of the audience to say, do you like this character? And there are some redeeming qualities to him outside of the plot of the story. So
to Batman?
No.
Batman
to Dexter. Well, actually, Batman
Dexter,
as well.
Sorry,
Batman as well, because he's a bit more nuanced. But with Dexter, it's like, okay, he just kills people.
Yeah, Batman has a real justification to do vigilante justice, and that in which he has a very special kind of vigilante justice, in which he solely helps the police do their job because he wants the system to work. And vigilante justice is the product of the justice system not working anymore. And it falls back to that. And Batman is walking this gray line right in between justice and vigilante justice.
I would say he steps over it all the time, but he's
doing
it
due to his code.
He's doing it
due to his code. He's not killing. He is tying the criminals up and leaving them for the police to process.
Right. So he is seen as a villain or as a criminal because he's breaking the law. So the police are like, oh my God, but they're also scared to address the issue because like, well, he's helping us, but we're obligated to try and bring him in. But how the hell do you bring in the Batman?
Yeah, we are also so understaffed and our superiors are so corrupt that we can't actually do our work right. And thanks to Batman, we can somewhat.
So the nuance is there on behalf of the setting, and even the third party characters that are just sort of like, duh, I'm just doing my job. I'm the background police chief guy or police fellow until they actually have a main character who's a police person.
Yeah, contrary to Dexter, who does this whole thing of, the justice system couldn't solve the case, but I totally know who the murderers are, and I will bring them to justice in my personal way. That is actual vigilante justice.
Yeah, that's more direct. Yeah, exactly.
Well, so 1938, the first comic book superhero is Superman. But you go back a decade earlier, and the character type is already there. You've got Shadow on the radio. Go back another decade, you have Zorro in silent movies. Go back 2 more decades, you have Scarlet Pimpernel on stage and in best-selling books. If you think of research as archaeology, that's the surface level. What gets a little more disturbing is when you go a level underneath that. Think about the standard superhero costume. You've got a mask, you've got a cape, you've got gloves, you've got a identifying emblem on the chest.
Oh, please,
that
no.
describes Batman. That describes Spider-Man, Captain America, Green Lantern, Black Panther. The list goes on and on. Now, look at the costume worn by the KKK.
Oh my God!
Fucking
No
way!
way.
No fucking way!
Maybe he's going to make a connection. We don't
You
know.
know,
No,
but the thing about the KKK is, oh God, Lord,
this is the
the
dumbest
KKK
form of guilt by association.
Yeah, but the thing is, the KKK's like outfit was literally created in the birth of a nation because they didn't actually have clan hoods when they were first created.
No, they didn't. And then they were also banned from wearing their hoods in public.
Yeah. Oh, there's a faction, and they have a uniform with their symbol on it. What a surprise!
No, nobody had outfits before.
That has
disguises
never happened before
the KKK.
I love how he went. So anyway, Zorro, a Mexican,
A Spaniard,
hero.
a Spaniard
Anyway,
helping out poor Mexicans. It's just
yeah. It's
white supremacy.
Clearly the KKK. Also, it's like flipping the highwaymen in the UK in the 17th century. They wore masks. How does that connect to
So they were
the
white
KKK?
supremacists.
Yeah.
By that logic, yes.
I totally love comic books. I learned to read with comic books. My children love comic books, and my daughter is making tea parties with comic book action hero figures. And by the way, the KKK.
I'm waiting for the connection. I'm just waiting.
Because they wear masks. What?
We're starting with that premise. He hasn't gone anywhere with it. Let's find out.
Hold on, Smud. Genga wants to join as well.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
They wear costume. The superheroes wear costumes with identifier symbols, markers on it, and the KKK did that as well. So did any army in history.
History did not exist before America Wisp, okay?
Anything.
Yes.
Ah!
Yeah,
History
okay.
started in
History literally started
1776.
in 19.
Let's
Oh,
go.
God.
You have the emblem, the mask, the secret costume is to disguise the wearer because in their minds, they're fulfilling a heroic mission. They're working outside the law in order to do what they consider disturbingly good. Now that is vigilanteism. And the superhero character type.
That's not. They weren't. No.
I'm just like disturbingly. Really?
KKK were created by the Democrats in the 1860s to rebel against the Union winning a war. They were then disbanded within a year of them being formed, and didn't really reform until the 1900s with the Birth of the Nation movie. They weren't vigilantes.
And even
He's
then,
literally he's literally looked at the propaganda of Birth of a Nation and thought that's real. He's literally fallen for clan propaganda.
even then,
Interesting.
it was still just small cells in chapters of the KKK.
I think he's trying to make a connection between an individual who puts on whatever mask outfit to hide their identity and believes that what they're doing is right, and yes, it's breaking the law for whatever thing they're trying to achieve. That's a pretty loose connection, though, between Batman and what the mentality of someone back in the day might have thought.
It's like he's literally gone, well, the KKK hated black people. Batman fights crime, and all black people commit crime, so he must be a white supremacist.
Yeah, in terms of category, he's like, okay, here are the vigilantism, dressing up in the middle of the night. He's like, oh, okay, you got that, but the reasons why they do it and how they do it, and the scenarios and the background are completely different. But yes, people have outfits. People have uniforms. You're right. That's true. Okay.
This guy is amazing.
So did knights. So did Vikings.
The Egyptians,
The colors on their shields. They had helmets.
the Zulus, everyone had uniforms of some kind.
Oh yeah, identify as to which clan or family they belong.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
The Scots had their kilts, all with family colors, with clan colors.
Flags of all kinds.
The concept of clanhood was made by the KKK.
Yeah, isn't a cape like a flag?
Retroactively invented through time machines.
And the symbols on a cape or a chest is basically a flag as well. It's like symbols are things. Yes, you're right. I don't think they're related by virtue of being in the same category, but okay. See where it goes.
Romanticizes vigilantism. Now, when I first noticed that connection between the KKK and superheroes,
What?
at first I thought it's coincidence.
What
Yes,
connection?
it is.
What connection?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's coincidence because if you believe it's anything more than completely normal human group behavior, then we need to get you onto ancient aliens.
So people wearing masks in the middle of the night to do vigilantism is a connection? Really? That's the big connection you saw because it's a thing to do in the middle of the night to hide your identity for doing dangerous and violent things in the name of whatever you believe in? I don't know, buddy. That's I can go to any robber in the middle of the night throughout thousands and thousands of human civilization. That is not enough. There's something else going on here. And if maybe he connected the motives of certain heroes, I mean, that's pretty hard to do because we're talking about heroes doing something good to achieve a goal, which is a good goal, as opposed to whatever the heck the KKK were trying to do. Like, you'd have to do that. You'd have to address, okay, here's a famous KKK guy. This is what they represent. This is what they did. This is how they did it. Compare that to Batman and go, oh, yeah, okay, doesn't correlate too well. There's not enough overlap. There's just the fact that they sneak around in the night and beat people up. That's okay. I don't think Batman lights shit on fire too often and crucifies kids.
He gets caught up in explosions.
Except if we talk about the Snyder version, but nobody likes that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about setting things on fire in relation to Batman, look no further than Firefly.
Okay.
Isn't that a TV show?
No, it is an actual Batman.
It was just
he fights the fire. He fights the villains who are fire. Okay, maybe not the best connection.
You're fired.
That's just what came to mind.
But this professor man he's starting to set up his wall with all the pins and the red strings and the start. He's in the process of getting into the frantic look at the connections, guys.
Well, this is worse. This is
mode.
like a Venn diagram, like masks. There's a big circle, and then you have like violence. There's another circle, and he puts Batman in the middle there, and then he puts KKK in the middle. Like, oh, look at the connection. You're like, what?
Yeah, no, he puts and then he puts. So he has a circle with masks and white supremacy, and they overlap 100%. And oh, look at the connection I found. Except no, they need to be a little bit off so that there's room for Antifa, which is totally not evil.
Yeah, but get the American military with their night vision mask goggles.
The American military is obviously white supremacy because it is the violent arm of an international expansionist empire that oppresses and exploits foreign nations for its own good, and therefore is bad.
Yeah, especially when all the Americans are black or Asian or whatever.
And all these other things that have names now and that nobody ever cared about 500 years ago. Because people didn't even know each other.
All right. Anyway,
people knew that the people in the village next over were weird.
Both have long necks. Rhinoceroses and Triceratops both have horns. So what? There's no evolutionary connection between them because they're divided by millions of years. But that's not the case with superheroes in the KKK. Usually when we think
fuck?
about the
That's
Klan,
absolutely
we think
the
about
case.
the period right after the Civil War. But the Klan reformed in 1915. Civil War had been over for almost a half century. What happened?
So Zorro is a white supremacist because of the KKK.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear.
Well, he's making his
Because
point.
Mexicans steal everything they see.
Like white supremacists?
Anyway,
Yes, and tacos.
Happened is a film came out, The Birth of a Nation.
oh,
It was based on a much earlier novel called The Klansman. Technically historical novel. It from its viewpoint, the South was saved by the creation of the Klan in order to prevent what it called Negro rule. It is a vile, vile novel. The film is just as bad, but even more popular. It was a national hit. It wasn't.
Is it actually popular?
I don't know, I never heard about it.
I mean, one of our presidents showed it in the White House.
For what reason?
Because...
Wasn't that Winston?
What?
Wasn't that Winston who showed it to the White House?
Wilson.
Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, it was Woodrow Wilson who showed it in the White House because
Fucking Woodrow Wilson.
he liked the movie.
really?
He agreed with it.
A Democrat president liking a movie like that?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't Wilson the one who fucked up the Balkans by drawing random lines over it?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Anyway.
just focused just on the South anymore. And this became
God, his still
common
frames are
belief
atrocious.
about the Civil War. When President Wilson watched
Yes.
the film in the White House, he
Oh no, it
said,
got stuck on my
"My
end.
only regret is that it is also terribly true." Fans came to the premiere in Atlanta dressed in Klan robes, what
Oh,
we
dear.
would now consider cosplayers. But
What?
unlike contemporary cosplayers, afterwards, they went to
That's
Stone
not a
Mountain Confederate
cosplayer.
Monument outside Atlanta. They lit a cross on fire and they declared the Klan reborn. 5 years later, nationally, the Klan had a membership of roughly 5 million people. At one point in the 1920s, 50,000 Klansmen marched on D.C. They were praised in newspapers from sermons. They were considered a force of good, that their vigilanteism is what we needed to fight criminal immigrants. Now, at the moment when the Klan gets most popular, about 1920, that's the same year that the film The Mark of Zorro is released. Zorro, the mask, the cape. His emblem's not on his chest, but he has the same Z, as a Z signature. He is the prototypical superhero. Now,
Oh God, no!
unlike-
How old is this video? Like, is he connected to the Ukraine war because of the Z?
What?
This is
Oh,
from 2 years
pain.
ago.
Ah!
This is from 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
All right, here's a
If only.
donation from JS again. Is he implying that General Lee was the Batman of the 1800s? Who's the real racist here? I don't know where he's going right now.
Who's the Joker?
Anyway,
Lincoln.
anyway, he's connecting Zorro to something. Like, well, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
Triceratops and rhinos, there's not millions of years dividing these. The Klan and the proto-character of Zorro achieve top popularity at exactly the same moment in the same culture. That's not coincidence.
What do you
You
mean?
don't get Zorro without the Klan,
Wait, what?
and
What?
you don't
Why?
get all of the superheroes who followed.
Wait a second, dude. Wait. You just said. You just said two things are popular at the same time, and that's not coincidence. You're like, okay.
I can
First
imagine
it
like
is
the Hispanics
coincidence.
like going like, ASA, white supremacy.
This is like, two movies come out at roughly the same time. They both become very popular, and you're like, maybe because that's all that was on at the time? And fans,
Yeah.
and some fans that really liked one genre watched that film, and for some fans who really liked the only other genre with the only other film that came out, liked and went to go see that film? Maybe. It wasn't like, well, Barbie's Dreamhouse just came out. I'm going to go watch that. And then tomorrow it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, oh, my favorite thing. I just saw my other favorite thing yesterday. Like, what? How? How did this happen? Maybe there was no entertainment back then, and that's the new thing that no one thought of. This is really, I mean, this is stretching it.
That isn't the first Zorro movie about him saving a small Mexican town from evil taxers? Like,
yes.
People who were
the evil government.
Yeah.
I want him to spin the Mexican hero into a white supremacist.
Well, I want to see the demographic for the person who went to go see the film and then goes and watch Zorro and say these are the same or these are just what I wanted or whatever the case may be. I want to know that. I want that psychology assessment done. I want an actual person who's a specialist in understanding people to say, okay, what do you feel when you watch this? What do you feel when you watch that? And do you like them because there's association of something? Like give me a correlation. That's all I want. Give me simple correlation to give me a relationship because I can't just run off what he said.
You know what drives me up the wall with people like this that try to make all these insane comparisons and links to render everything that's good about our cultures, about our societies as bad, evil, Nazi, racist, supremacist crap. The moment you bring up to them that, hey, look, the economic policies of the Nazis and the communists were kind of the same. So I guess they were all socialists because they were all socialist policies. They go, no, you're making it up. That's not the correlation. That's totally coincidence. That has nothing to do with each other. But when they make up this delusional crap where they see, this tree looks vaguely familiar to this polyp over there on that rock, they're the same things, then we have to take them for granted or something. I don't know, maybe that's why he looks constantly shocked and perplexed, because he fried his brain already.
I mean, we could do the same thing with aesthetics of what's popular during a certain time frame, like bell bottoms or I don't know, black leather, like something that's very generic, and say, okay, well, we could let's say the release of X-Men, X-Men, the first movie, and the other film, The Matrix. They all had black leather, even though in the comic books all the leather was different color and blah blah blah. You're like, well, yeah, they're doing an adaptation of something. They got to make it realistic. It's not because that's the thing that's going to sell more tickets. It's just because that's what the costume designer thought would work for that film. And then the other costume designer went, well, we can't have Wolverine running around in yellow. That doesn't make sense. Plus, we're in the frickin' Matrix where everything's made up anyway, so who cares? Yeah, hard sell there, buddy. You gotta have a correlation agreement. You gotta use the stats. You gotta show me the numbers. Show me the people. This is a study you could do. I don't know what the modern equivalent would be, but you would have to do it to prove something like that. You can't just say, well, at this time frame, this was popular, therefore there's a connection. It's like, no.
That's like saying that polos being popular in the early 90s led to roof Koreans.
This is first year statistics. If you guys have ever taken a stats course, you will learn very quickly how correlation works. And the fallacy that anyone trying to show relationships between dissimilar ideas or dissimilar factors, what happens? So this guy should have talked to any math prof or any sociology major who has to take stats would say, yeah, no, dude, that's not. I mean, obviously you studied the arts, but you should probably take an elective in stats first. Before you started making these connections, sir. Anyway, let's get on to the super chats. Doug Keller, thank you, Doug. Birth of a Nation was at one point highlighted as a technical achievement for filmmaking, cinematography. I heard about it in college film course. There you go. Cool.
Yes, it was used for even the original Star Wars for the ending sequence.
Cool.
Like, you know, when they go and accept their awards, like that's straight up like taken away from that.
George Lucas is secretly a white supremacist. Like, okay.
He is.
Anyway.
Now, it wasn't just the Klan. The Klan was just one part of American culture at that point. There's even a larger, more disturbing context. And that history is encoded in one of the most famous superheroes of all, Superman, his name.
What?
When I started researching for that class, I typed in Superman into a newspaper database search engine with the cutoff date of April 1938, the year he appears in comics. And I assumed there would be nothing before that date, because how could there be? There were over 2,000 hits. Now, at first, it made no sense to me. And then I realized, there's a play called Man and Superman that premiered in 1903. That's when the word Superman came into the English language as a translation of Nietzsche's Übermensch. So I thought, okay, puzzle solved. Except all the references weren't in theater. They were in arts and literature. They were in the sports section. They were in book reviews. I saw a ballet dancer referred to as Superman of the Toe. Babe Ruth was called a baseball Superman.
Okay.
The boxer Jack Dempsey was called a Superman. Ben Franklin was called a Superman. Franklin Roosevelt, the living politician, was called a Superman. None of this has to do with comic books or about Nietzsche or about that play. This has to do with eugenics. It's a term that was coined in the 1880s. Well-born. Person who coined it was looking at the alumni list for Cambridge and Oxford. And he was trying to understand this strange phenomenon where why do people from the same families keep going to these top schools? And his answer was they must be genetically superior. And that included himself. It included his cousin, Charles Darwin, who had only 2 decades earlier published On the Origin of Species. Now, that book, at the time, didn't invent the idea of evolution. It really codified it. It turned it into a paradigm scientifically accepted. What was revolutionary about
this might be funnier than the
Sam Hyde. The idea that human beings didn't come into prominence because God decided it. It was just happenstance. Evolution happened to work out that way.
Nothing to do with nepotism. Nothing to do with narcissism to write this stuff about, I'm just better than everyone because of my genes.
He went from Nietzsche to eugenics, and then
he wants to go all the way to social Darwinism, probably. And why not throw the monk? What was his name? Mendel? Forgot his first name. Who started the entire, who discovered the rules of inheritance,
right.
through experiments with peas and bees.
He just threw a bunch of ideas at the screen in less than 30 seconds that are not related at all.
It's just random. It's just random crap. I told you. It's the wall with all the pins, and he's putting on all the red threads and showing us, here, look, and this is connected with that. It's all connected, and then aliens.
Meanwhile, I'm just still hung up on the chart because it has normal children and then other normal children. What the hell? What's the difference?
I'm a bit in awe.
I don't like the other normal children. That's
what I'm saying. I'm just like, what's the difference?
All right. Here's JS again. Thank you, sir. Eugenics is when you dump a baby from Krypton on the doorstep of a farmhouse in rural U.S.
No, that's cool.
Maybe if like Kal-El has like babies himself, maybe, but not.
Also, Nietzsche was not talking about eugenics. He was talking about self-actualization. The Nietzschean definition of the Übermensch is the self-reflecting, self-actualizing, self-correcting, in the sense of you acknowledge your own mistakes and you work on correcting them so that you don't repeat them in the future. That kind of stuff. That was the Nietzschean definition. The Nazis then twisted that. If we're honest about it, his sister started that because she was basically a Nazi. That's where the whole twist comes from. So why does he just he just brings up Nietzsche out of random because he used the word then that other people use.
Because he went,
here's the connect here. This color is red. That is also red.
He did a database search from some database, and it found 2,000 references to the word Superman. I'm like, that's has nothing to do with the actual comic book. Like, who cares if a word was invented in common parlance throughout the world because of Nietzsche or whatever the case was, a boxer.
Like, if you were to search up Superman and the KKK in one search group, you would find the radio play from the early 1940s.
You could find
Superman fought the KKK.
You could find the name Hercules and for thousands of years, and that's fine because we've had stories of Hercules for thousands of years. What's your point? Like, we have.
Why did he not bring up Headsman? Because the Headsman, he's wearing a mask while he kills people. He does that in the name of the law. Very much so.
Any of the Crusaders wearing helmets, Knights Errant wearing.
Yeah. We brought that up before.
Yeah.
And you had you had self-righteous knights. You had also we call them Raubritter. That would be the impoverished knights that then still had sometimes they had a castle because, well, who's going to take it away?
Well,
and exploiting the countryside.
Even in the West, you had the Wild West. You had all the people wearing masks, doing all kinds of crazy robberies. I mean, where else do we go for these exact examples where you have vigilantism and mask wearing? This is throughout history. It's not just like the past 30 years within the conception of Zorro. Like, that's a stretch.
Chet mentions that Zorro existed before the film.
Yeah.
I have not delved into that.
It was a book.
How much older than the KKK?
I think the book came out in 1910, I think.
Okay, that would still be after the KKK. That would not debunk his insane argument.
His argument was that the birthed nation and Zorro was getting fame at the same time. So,
okay, yeah, I can see that. Oh god.
Anyway, we're almost done, so let's just keep going.
Yeah, let's get this over with. Jesus Christ.
It could work out differently. Humans could devolve, or some other species could evolve and become more powerful than that.
No, what? They don't devolve. That would go against the concept of evolution. Evolution has to do with like traits that help them evolve. The de-evolving would go away. They would.
I would argue that devolving is like definitely can be seen on this person.
The origin of species has to do with like traits that help people advance, and that they are so good they are become dominant traits. So no, the things that would, like the recessive traits, would still be present unless they were weeded out, but they would not be duplicated or replicated because they would not produce adaptable, replicatable genetics. So that'd be the opposite of what Darwin was referring to. Strange take, sir. Maybe I think this guy needs to do a bit more reading outside of his discipline because he's stretching or reaching rather.
What happened is the creation of eugenics, what is now clearly a pseudoscience, but the idea was that the human race could breed a new race of literally supermen. You look at the New York Times science section and you see article after article after article about the coming of the future race of the Superman. And this is the same Superman that the comic book Superman
doesn't keep the Democrats and other socialists still from dabbling in eugenicist programs.
I want to. Where is he going to this with comic books? I can't remember one comic book.
He's said that like this is exactly what the Superman of the comic books is.
No,
it was made. He was made by two Jewish guys.
who like the circus. They like the outfit from the circus.
So are they? So is Superman like a white supremacist made by Jewish people? Oh, what the fuck
If
is
he
he
wants to
on?
compare Superman to anything, it's Reign of the Superman, which came like 2 years before the comic as a short story, written by the same two guys.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I've brought it up before. Yeah.
Anyway, let's see where he goes.
The original comic script from 1934, Superman doesn't come from Krypton. He comes from Earth's future. He doesn't arrive in a rocket ship. He arrives through a time travel machine. Literally, Superman, the comic book character, is the Superman that science was imagining was going to evolve from the human race. Superman is the Superman. Now, usually, when we think of eugenics, and the term that Superman, we think of Hitler. We think of Nazi Germany. We think of Auschwitz. We think of mass exterminations.
That's cleansing. I think you might be referring to Russian eugenics, where they actually did do that. So, where they did breed.
No, he's a socialist. He can't talk bad about Russia.
Oh no,
Soviet Russia. I mean, he can talk bad now. He can talk bad about Russia now.
Yeah,
he can't talk bad about Soviet Russia.
There's propaganda of that. I recall reading it. So I don't remember Okay, there was also Nazi propaganda, but the Russians actually did it, or the Soviets actually did that. So I don't know where he's going.
Yeah, because the socialists in general believe in the creation of the new man. So they don't call it the Übermensch. They call it the new man. And they know that they need to create a new man in order for socialism to work, because only the new man can actually work with this wonderful utopian system with which paradise will be possible, will come. Because with humans as they are too flawed, they are inferior, they're crap. And that's why socialism can't work. And that's why eventually humans as they are need to be eradicated and replaced by this new man that doesn't exist and that actually can't be created, not by the ideas they have, certainly. But they keep trying and genociding around, and they will again.
All right, well, he's talking about eugenics, but he's not actually showing references, but I was like, okay, fine.
That's a more comfortable story, but unfortunately it's not accurate. Eugenics came out of initially England, but more prominently the United States. The idea of the gas chamber is from 1912, Long Island. An American eugenics think tank put out ideas for how to fix the gene pool. They wanted immigration restrictions. They wanted racial segregation. They wanted anti-racial marriage laws, sterilization, and what they termed euthanasia. They wanted, unlike Hitler, they wanted gas chambers in every town in the United States in order to euthanize the locally unfit. This is all before the discovery of DNA. They had no idea what could be a hereditary trait, so they thought they could end feeble-mindedness.
No. People had concepts of hereditary traits because we already had the rules of how that worked. That's how the entire animal husbandry works. That's how cultivating plants into their desired edible parts works, like cauliflower. The original cauliflower has barely anything edible about it, and we made two species of salad from it. That's one is the big cauliflower thing. There's this giant cauliflower, when the original only had this tiny part of it, and the other one, I don't know, was it kale? I don't remember. I was like these two very distinct things that we wouldn't believe today came from the same flower that was cultivated by humans. And so to him claiming here that humans didn't know what hereditary traits are in what did he say, early 1900s, is insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, Mendelian genetics was like back in 1870, I think. I can't remember exactly when, but it was known for a while now.
Yeah, Gregor Mendel. Gregor was his first name. So what was this? 1865.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. 1865.
Cool. Okay, let's keep going.
Criminality, epilepsy, blindness, deafness, insanity, and poverty, all by breeding. And not coincidentally, they
Color blindness you could technically breed out because that is a genetic trait. That is a hereditary thing. But well, it's not that really bad to have those worse things. But see, this is the problem. He's claiming that this is all bullshit. Like, you could do some of these things, but it would not be ethical. Him claiming that it's completely impossible is just wrong on the other extreme.
Yeah, this is like anyone studying or trying to wrap their brain around psychology in the turn of the century. Like, no one knew exactly what the rules were, so they were making guesses as to what could heal or what your ailment was. Mm. So this is no different than anyone. Doesn't matter from the West.
And the eugenicists thought they could breed around everything, which isn't the case, and he thinks it seems to be what he's saying.
Well, there was
that you can't do it, yet you can't do any of these things. It's all bollocks, and both positions are wrong.
Yeah, if you looked at that list of a dozen things, it's like there's polygamy and a bunch of other weird shit. And you're like, okay, well, that's not really going to change. certain behaviors of the male gender are going to pursue sex whether they're married or not, just because of their proclivity. So,
and female. What we currently have is a female polygamy problem.
Sure, I mean, this is human behavior in general. And you're like, oh, we can control this all through proper breeding. It's like, well, that's half the battle, but there's a lot more to it than just having good babies. It's like.
Yeah, if you want to put it into an extreme, it's that the what's associated with the National Socialists, their beliefs was that more is biological than really is, and the communist socialist belief is more that nothing is is biological. Everything is sociological. Everything is learned. Is done by the environment and by socialization, and those are both bullshit positions.
Which is hilarious, because if you look at the concept of America, or what America tries to represent, it's that the individual is greater than the whole, meaning that you have individual freedom and you're sovereign unto yourself, not the other way around, where the state is the sovereign and you are just a member of that representation. Yeah. So it's strange.
The great idea of the West is that the group works because the individual is free.
Right, and to have all this, and it's the only place in the world that is declared that as being, this is how we're going to go forward making our society. And people, well, nowadays, I don't know if they stay around, but they don't want to stay in the States most of the States too often these days. They want to leave. They want to go elsewhere.
Yeah, but the West is the place where, you're right, the West is the place where that idea was formed and articulated and lived. And I believe that one giant reason, this is one, maybe the main reason even, why the West is so much under ideological attack and being undermined, is because this idea of individual freedom being the central good that makes a good society, that makes a good group, let's say, is antithetical to an authoritarian regime.
Yes, I agree.
And we are under attack by ideologies that want to form authoritarian regimes. So they need to get rid of this idea of the individual freedom.
I can't remember who said it. I think it was Lenin who was saying a man with a gun can control 100 people without one, or something like that. And the concept was, America was like, well, imagine you want to rob a bank. Like, if you're the only one with a gun, everyone's going to listen to you. But imagine you want to rob an American bank and everyone has a gun. And I say, I pull out my gun and say, give me all your money. Well, you're going to have like 40 people point their gun at me. It's like, no, you give me all your money.
Oh yeah, you have tons of cases of this courageous citizen standing up and preventing the robbery of the store You have that constantly happening in the United States. It's just not reported on.
Yes,
What's reported
yes.
on is the gun crime. It's not the heroic, courageous acts
We do see
of
it.
guns preventing crime or solving crime.
We do see it on a variety of social media, though. I do catch some of those news, local news stories that don't get made it to the big networks, but they do exist. America's a pretty crazy, cool place. Anyway, we are just way off topic because this guy is crazy so far. And
I think he knows. I think deep down he knows he's crazy.
Something's not jiving with, like, maybe he has no students, or maybe this is like during the pandemic where he just got like no one to talk to and he's just going nuts. I don't know. He's doing everything from home these days, but
Yeah, this was the time that TEDx didn't allow them to do the stage, so they had to each record their own TEDx's in their offices, basically.
no vetting. Let's let it go. Let this guy do this. But this thing has 500 views or whatever. It's nothing. No one knows this guy.
But in like 13 minutes, he's talked about comic book characters for maybe 4 minutes.
Well, the worst thing is he connected them to nothing, or tried to connect them to newspaper articles and white supremacy. I just can't believe this guy. Anyway, we have less than 2 minutes.
Thought all race tended to be from non-Anglo-Saxons. This is white supremacy. The IQ test was created in order to identify people not smart enough to reproduce. Planned Parenthood was created with the idea of using birth control to prevent unfit people from reproducing. Indiana was the first state to have a sterilization.
I'm surprised that someone leaning left is admitting the Planned Parenthood eugenics program.
No.
But the IQ stuff is wrong. That's not the reason it was invented. And IQ is the most researched thing in psychology, as far as I'm aware. So that stands on a foundation. It doesn't mean that you're worthless to society. Rather, to the contrary. We figured out that there are jobs that low IQ people really like to do, that they because they can be useful in them, and they do them extremely well. They do not feel exploited or anything. They're happy. They can help other people.
I seem to recall,
and it's menial tasks that other people think beneath them.
Even in, if you guys remember Brave New World, was it called the Gammas? Like, they were bred specifically to do menial tasks, and they got along within their society specifically that way to do.
Yeah, that would be that phenomenon being exploited.
Well, the way they would do it, they would birth the babies and they would actually cut the oxygen to the brain.
Oh my god!
To retard them.
I think it was either the deltas or the epsilons that did that, because alphas and betas were top, gamma was middle.
Yeah, okay.
Basically middle class.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a while since I read that, but yeah, I do remember that because the first chapter is amazing. Like, it's absolutely like, holy shit! Like, you're in for a ride. If you can get past the first chapter of that book, you're gonna love it, or you're gonna be freaking out.
Yeah, I have to admit I haven't read all the core dystopian novels because at some point it was honestly too hard for me after a certain point in my life, because I've seen too much of politics, and once you realize that the left really wants to do these things, it's not these books are not as it's falsely described as dystopian prophecies or warnings. No, they are descriptions of what the left actually wants to do.
Well, that's
and all to do and dreams of doing.
That's why we have to read them, like the Fahrenheit 451, 1984, Brave New World.
I needed 2 runs to get through 1984 because
it's a tough one. Yeah.
When you like most of what happened in East Germany, I know through stories. Like I'm mainly just affected by the repercussions of East Germany. But when you know that other family members went through this shit and how that society worked, and that our school system still was the same shit, still filled with the same ideologues that were brainwashing the kids into liking socialism in the 2000s. It was the same people that got their teaching licenses during East Germany. They were still teaching in the 2000s, telling us, here, go to the youth organization of the left party and other such things. And that's the light stuff. And then you read 1984. It gets creepy, man. It's too real.
Okay.
Why read dystopian novels? You're living one.
All right.
Yeah.
Here is Captain Eugenics. Hey, Captain. I am convinced that this Chris Gavaler fellow is cousins to Joshua David Bellin. You know, the author of the book that Cold Crash Pictures quoted in the Jurassic Park. Both pull non-existing connections out of their asses. Okay, that is a very specific reference. If you guys don't remember that, we covered that YouTuber, Cold Crash Pictures, who quoted that fellow who did a review of Jurassic Park, who thought it was a trans narrative, I believe.
What?
Oh, that was one of the wildest streams we ever had. That
Jurassic Park?
Yes, this is Dunn. Dunn was actually bought the book and read
the dinosaurs are trans now?
Because they were based off frog eggs, and frog eggs can change their sex certain stage of development. And they based that for their.
That's not how no.
Well, anyway, that is
Help.
a crazy. That is one of the craziest Smudcasts we've ever done.
Was I asleep?
You were there, weren't you? I know Dunn was there. Because
Maybe I suppressed the memory.
Oh God! Once you see it, you'll remember it. I'm sure. Anyway,
I don't want to.
Neither do I.
I have enough trauma to shoulder. I don't need more.
If you thought Maggie May was crazy, this was just the same vein. Anyway, let's keep going.
In 30 states followed. What did the Supreme Court say in the 1920s? It is better for all the world if society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. When President Coolidge signed an anti-immigration bill in the same decade, he wrote, America must be kept American. Biological laws show that Nordics deteriorate when mixed with other races. When Hitler wrote Mein Kampf in the 1920s, he looked to the United States and he said to Germany, we have to do better. We have to follow the United States.
Oh, wait, we have to do better?
Uh-oh.
Man, that's a line I haven't heard in a long time.
Ugh.
Do better, Mr. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Hey, if he can make stupid associations, so can I.
Yeah, Kratos. Okay.
Do better.
We have to count on eugenics. When the bestseller, The Passing of the Great Race, was published in the United States, Teddy Roosevelt praised it and because it specifically said that worthless race types should be sterilized. Hitler called that American book his Bible. This is the cultural context that the superhero emerged from. Without eugenics, there's no Superman. Without the Klan, there's no Batman.
Okay. Wait. Without eugenics, there's no Superman. Say that to the creators of Superman and ask them why they made Superman. Why he was a Moses figure.
Say that to every half-god character in mythology around the planet.
Well, just think about a Jewish immigrant wanting to think, oh yeah, I totally believe what the the Nazis are saying right now. It's like, are you sure about that? You really think
every half-god, whether Greek, Norse, or anything else, any story, even stories about the gods, like if you take the Monkey King, that's a superhero story. Yes, he's not human, but that's beside the point. Neither is Superman.
All right.
Ah, God.
One more minute.
Bloody hell.
Thousands and thousands of other superheroes that have followed since. Now, I want to be clear. The creators of Superman, the creators of the early comic book characters, the whole comic book industry, they weren't white supremacists. They were predominantly Jewish. But they were taking a pre-existing character type and adapting it to a new context of World War II. And in its DNA, that character type embodied white supremacy.
Oh, no, you talk about DNA, and so by eugenicist rules, we should eradicate superheroes because they have the evil gene.
Where did this start? He didn't show the connection. He just said, "Oh yeah, it just started about the same time as his other."
It just looks the same. He says it looks the same, so it is the same, so it's bad.
But the actual
this
writers,
is guilt by association. Yeah, nothing else.
The writers are fine, but the thing they're making is completely racist. Okay.
Yeah, they do not get the idea that maybe this is just a modern version of Greek myths.
This is like connecting the stagecoach to the car and saying stagecoaches are bad because you're hurting horses, therefore the car is you're hurting the working class. You're just replacing the horse with the mechanic or some nonsense like that. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? What connection is there?
Aliens.
Illegal aliens, immigrants from
Zorro.
Europe coming to America.
Zorro is an illegal immigrant and therefore a white supremacist.
Oh, okay. Not him directly, but the origin of the idea of Zorro. The DNA.
Antonio Banderas.
We have 30 seconds. This guy is going crazy.
He's not even... In 30 seconds, he has no time to get back to his original point.
Oh, God. All right.
Now, like Confederate statues, superheroes emerged in an explicitly racist moment. We need to acknowledge that so it's possible for superheroes to grow beyond it. And I believe that
what do you mean with beyond? You mean this isolationist racist empire in Africa that exploits its neighbors?
Wait a second. This guy's saying because of the World War or whatever, the era of a certain 30s and 40s, the superhero was born. It's like, well, I don't blame the world wars for everything the same way I don't blame technology because of war. Due to war, we have technology which made weapons, but we converted those pieces of technology into useful instruments like energy. But I don't say the DNA of like nuclear power is Armageddon and destruction. And no, that's just what you're solving a problem. And you say, hey,
this guy,
what can we do with this piece of technology aside from killing each other? Oh, we could, use it for good, for making power. Yeah.
And here, this asshole is now showing us the actual socialist propaganda comics. He's not happy with the prior ones, but with these ones, he's happy as the better ones. And on the right especially, we see a movie that depicts a black African super technology nation that is highly racist, highly imperialist, and everything in the book, like if you put every criticism that he has about whiteness, about white supremacy, is embodied by the Black Panther Society in that movie.
It's a isolationist ethno-state who gets taken over by just a guy beating up another guy, who then wants to just start attacking random countries because black people. You're like, what?
And who make monkey noises in celebration.
I think
that is literally in the movie. The black people in Africa make monkey noises in celebration.
Well,
and that's somehow not a racist movie. Fucking hell. Any other time.
I would have hoped he brought up the Calvin Ellis, because I think that would have been like, oh yeah, no, that's not racist at all. It's like, you don't think Morrison created Calvin Ellis after Kal-El because he wanted a black Superman? You don't think that's racist?
He's been talk throughout this little lecture. he's been talking very softly. He's been talking like, I'm on your side. I totally like superheroes. My kids like superheroes. But throughout he's talking this, he's making these absolutely nonsensical connections, this essentially slander by association, and making it basically evil. And it's only now through the proper socialist propaganda version that purports the ideological values instead of the ethical values that comic book heroes have pushed before. No, this is the stuff that's cleaning it up, and this is how the young adults that go to university get brainwashed. It looks like this. It's not always a clown with rainbow hair and borderline personality disorder in front, spouting random this is also random nonsense, but spotting other random nonsense that's way more obvious, and then calling the class to chant the Communist Manifesto, which they also do. But this is the majority of how it happens. It's these lectures that seem totally nice and approachable, but are just complete garbage. And it looks legitimate because the guy looks like a professor, talks like a professor, but he's actually insane. And I think deep down he knows it, because why? I cannot.
Yeah, any of his
explain to myself why his facial expressions are the way they are. They are highly insecure of anything he's saying.
Any of his colleagues, if they read one of his papers or his thesis, would be like, "Dude, I think you're making connections where none exist."
Oh no, I think his colleagues completely agree with him and write the exact same types of papers, which is why all these papers are greenlit.
Okay.
That's the peer review. The peer review is his peers are like him.
Well, I wish he would have talked about a bit more about the connection that he found and shown because if it's just guilt by timing, meaning the same period we had stories about this or that, and vigilantism was a thing, you can't just make that connection.
I bet this is all he has. I bet this is all he has, because when you make this distilled rundown of your argument, you bring your strongest arguments.
Yeah, you didn't talk about.
And if these are his strongest arguments, he's full of shit. He's a fraud.
He didn't talk about DC or Marvel or Stan Lee or any of the Marvel method, and he didn't talk about anything related to modern comics, the Miles Morales. All the iteration, I was going to say of Captain Marvel, that was a big fiasco, and how many versions. And then we have the Green Lanterns, all the characters that were race swapped, gender swapped for sales options or whatever the idea for marketing was. All kinds of stuff we could have talked about race or whatever the heck would appeal to certain people. No. We're not talking about the good or bad racism. We're just talking about the potential for timing that when these what's the name of the movie that came out that the president showcased and everyone loved it?
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation. We're not talking about the association between that film coming out and when comics just came out. That's it. That's all he has as an influence. There's nothing else. Psychologically, culturally, aesthetically, nothing. It just this happened and then this happened. They're connected. It's like, no. Are you joking? Any intro to psych professor or statistician or sociologist would laugh at you, sir. Stay in your lane. I hate to say that, but English seems to be your thing. Stay there.
And learn something about fields outside of yours.
Well, if you're going to make associations like this that are dumb as hell, yeah. Anyway.
And Tyler Preston in the chat mentions, it's wolves wearing sheep's clothing. And yes, exactly. This is exactly what this is. He's a wolf wearing sheep's clothing. He wants to sell you that everything bad, everything white supremacy, things only good once they contain communist ideology.
All right. I think we're done with the video. Let's go to stream memes if they're there.
Wait. Let's give him the last 14 seconds.
Yeah, I was about to say.
All right.
If we can to something as unimportant as comic books, then we as a nation have a real chance of facing up to the far more destructive legacies of our past. Thank you.
Okay.
Now memes.
All right.
Crazy guy.
Weird. Okay. Here we go. Mike Testa. What Hawk was quoting was the White Knight short from Cyanide and Happiness. All right. Okay. The White Knight. All right. Wisp, I don't know why you're posting his facial.
The faces.
Yeah, that is.
Yes, absolutely. He looks in pain. Like I don't know. Like he's torturing his own soul saying these things. This is why I believe that deep down he knows he's full of shit.
Okay. He looks pretty sad there. Yeah. What do you call German ghost newspaper? The Zeitgeist. Har har har.
Oh, that is cute. That is cute.
Now we know what the next Wisp PFP is going to be.
Dear.
No. That looks too much like a sperm.
Spring Heel Jack can be considered a precursor to the modern superhero. This predates Birth of a Nation by a few years by releasing in 1899, while that film dropped in 1915. The Human Bat, the story of Spring Heel Jack. That's cool. Oh, dear. There are all kinds of crazy stories, fantastical or science fiction, macabre, all kinds at the turn of the nation. So whether they've had access to them, I don't know. In America, I doubt it. Garfield Linz, a.k.a. Firefly. Ooh, cool. Arkham Knight. Very cool. More. Wait, I'm not going to post every single.
Look at them.
Ted Bundy.
No, Al Bundy.
Al Bundy, sorry.
They're the same picture.
Yeah. Anyway, I like this one. From official comic book called Superman Smashes the Klan, based on Superman radio show story arc Clan of the Fiery Cross.
Yeah, the radio thing actually destroyed the KKK because people realized what dumb beliefs it has.
Not just that, but the radio also gave away a lot of the code words that they would use. And kids would pretend to be Superman and fight the KKK using the same code words.
Oh, nice.
Knights, if we all work together, we can handle him. Yeah, sure. There you go. Al Bundy. And this
it's the same expression.
A broken man.
It's the same expression. I wonder if he did 6 touchdowns in a game once.
Gigaman, you're showing me Sonic on the floor.
And that is from Sega's little April Fool's Sonic thing.
All right.
Literally called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh.
I see how that fits with today's topic.
In relation to Doug Keller's Birth of a Nation super chat, I went to college.
That never gets old.
The superheroes are the racists. Tell that to hate monger? Okay. The hate monger. First appeared in December. Fantastic Four. It's too bad we had to kill him off at the end. Judging by your mail, he might have become one of our most popular villains, really. Or unpopular villains, rather. The world is better off without him. There's enough nutty hatred rampant today without anyone else trying to make a career of it. Yeah, that sounds like Stanley. They killed him off. That's great.
Is that Krang?
I am Adolf Hitler. It's awesome.
That might be MODOK in a new body. I don't know.
Was just confused because it's like Krang's body in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it does look similar. I'll grant you that.
How white can a superhero get? All right, so we got Moon. Is that Moon Knight? I don't know these other two.
That's the Spectre.
Oh, the Spectre? Oh, geez, that's a big difference. The real white supremacy, no one acknowledges everyone's skin color in the show. I'm sorry, which show is this?
It's Ruby.
That's Ruby? Is that Ruby?
We don't talk about Ruby.
Is the name that should not be named?
It stopped being relevant after Volume 2.
Okay.
Ooh.
Hellboy fighting Kirgoth?
Kriegaffe means war monkey.
Oh my god.
But that's an ape.
Nazi Frankenstein monkey.
But it's an ape.
All right. I had to check out of curiosity. Wasn't shocked when Jewish comics and graphic narratives came up. Chris Gavaler. Jewish. Well, he wrote multiple books, so I guess he did a lot of research on random topics.
Why Hugh Neutron though?
Yeah, I don't know. Whoa, what we got here? I can't quite. I was there.
God, that is ugly.
Okay. Superman being a Nazi. Tearing off the hood of a tank. Okay. War bonds and stamps smash Axis tanks too. Oh, look at that.
What kind of tank is that?
It looks kind of Russian, doesn't it? I could be wrong. No, it's probably not.
That above was also not a face of Hitler. Like whoever drew that did never see a photo of Hitler.
And Superman bashing a submarine. What is that? Bunch of bombs.
I think that's a bomber. That's a bomber.
All right. We're posting this because apparently we can't get away from this madman stupidity. Watchmen writer Alan Moore argues Birth of a Nation is the first American superhero film. Really? Thank you, Alan Moore.
Is that where we got this bullshit from?
He might have read this guy. I have no clue.
Or did Alan Moore inspire this professor guy?
Oh, boy.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
The Panther's avenging form reflects the flaring torchlight. Okay. How the hell is Black Panther getting suppressed by a bunch of dudes in robes? Who knows?
This was before
He's outnumbered, Smud.
He's like indestructible. He's got razor sharp claws. Okay. Anyway.
And I don't think was it a thing that a suit had vibranium in it at this point?
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Was vibranium invented yet?
No, vibranium existed, but I don't think Black Panther had it in his suit yet.
He didn't. He was just super strong at this point.
Yeah, vibranium being part of the suit came way later.
All right. Well, that was I wouldn't say it was a horrible take, just a really dumb take. And
it's TEDx. What expects?
Well,
it was an insane take, and this is how students in university get brainwashed into believing all the socialist crap that before we only had on Tumblr and YouTube, where we could still give a counter narrative to it, still take apart the arguments. In the universities, that isn't the case. Those counter arguments can't be made there anymore. The students who would make them will likely get exmatriculated. They will not get good grades.
You would think people studying to become graduates or whatever area of discipline, they would have a more robust training. And I don't know what this guy did, but he completely skipped stats, like completely. And basic psych, basic sociology, and just went, well, clearly evidence.
He's just going with the leftist narrative about every topic.
I don't even know. I think this
and constructs this evil association through everything.
It's almost
that's all he does.
I don't want to call him stupid. It's just as if he didn't understand what he was even looking at. It's almost like he did not go to school. This is something I could have gotten from an 8-year-old who's just reading stuff, who says, well, this happened, and at the same time this happened, therefore you're like, what? No, son, that's not how history works.
To me, it sounded like inane rambling from Tumblr.
Well, I don't want to say that, but it's as if he's in his own little bubble, and he sounds innocent. Like, he does not sound like he's brainwashed. He sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he has limited.
Then why does he look like he's in mental anguish when he's saying all
I
of
have
this?
no idea. That's confusing.
Is that the remnant of his functioning mind crying out from the depths of his soul, please stop, I can't take any more of this bullshit, please let me think like a sane person again, please.
I'm stuck in my job for the past 30 years. I don't know what to do.
Please stop. I don't care if you lose if you lose your chair. Just stop the lobotomizing yourself.
Can I start again at 47? Like, probably not. How old this guy is. Oh boy. Okay, that was sad. And guys, correlation does not equal causation. Let's just say that. And yeah, you could spot this crap a mile away, pretty much. So
yeah. Did you get all the super chats?
Yep, got them all. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time and money. Thanks for this crazy suggestion. TED Talks. Holy hell! Never gonna do that again.
TEDx. TEDx is special. It's the special inbred little cousin of well, whatever TED is at this point.
If you're a professor, you could say whatever you want. Apparently.
Oh God. Passing nice acquaintance is doing reviews of TEDx talks on a weekly basis. His name is Scribelight. Check him out. He does this on a. It's what he does on his YouTube channel. I don't know how he stays sane. What?
Isn't it every Friday? Because I watch Scribelight every once in a while.
Okay, yeah. I don't know which day, but he does it on the regular, and he's pretty well at taking it apart, and he's at the point where he can do it in his sleep because they always say the same things.
Interesting. All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time. We will talk to you later. Have yourself a great Friday, and good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.